Are we doing this in updates?
Yes. And she didn't give it to us in time.
The discussion on the MNC library, but anything, what is that?
That's what established a committee to look at long-term reuse.
I'm sorry. Okay, I was getting. It's unanticipated. Okay.
Today's the first already, oh my goodness. I thought today was the second, isn't that strange?
Okay. All right, what's going on?
There, yeah. It's 5:00.
Oh, okay.
Although we have to organize ourselves, so Haley has to start our
Oh,
meeting.
you have to
yes,
start.
that's true, I do.
Oh, okay.
So you get to call us to order.
Do you want to, do I get a gavel?
Do we want to do for co-chair?
Okay. So I'll go ahead and I'll call the meeting of the Shutesbury Selectboard to order on
Oh, you mean this meeting?
this
No.
meeting on Tuesday, July 1st. And the first real order of business is that you all need to get your chairs sorted out.
Our organization.
Yes, your governing structure.
Hey.
told you I leave early.
Okay, so I will nominate Melissa Makepeace O'Neill to be the chair.
Second,
Do you have anything would you like to accept that nomination?
Yes, I can accept. I also, we need someone to be, we did vice chair before. Rather than co-chair.
Well.
So that if the chair was out, the vice chair took over the responsibilities
Yeah.
at the moment, and we had used co-chair.
You need a second
for a
right now.
while.
Right.
So do we want to vote on the chair and then
A vice
Vice
chair.
chair.
then you can.
If you guys are amenable to a vice chair.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah. Okay, I'm gonna nominate Eric to be vice chair.
well, we have to vote on the first.
Oh, all right,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
not so bad.
We obviously love talking about ourselves.
Okay,
Okay, so we need a roll call vote from you
okay,
for Melissa to be chair of the select board.
Carol, I.
Dr.
Melissa Makepeace O'Neill.
Okay, congratulations.
Yeah,
on
thank
your
you.
position. I can turn the meeting over to you now.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right, we admit all here. I'd like to make a motion that we have a vice chair. Eric, would you like to, I'll make a motion that we appoint Eric as vice chair.
That's just if you can't make it or something, you're feeling
Yes.
good.
How many meetings have I actually missed?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I second that motion.
All right, I'll do that. I'll second or whatever.
I second it, you don't have to.
Okay. All those in favor of Eric as vice chair?
Carol, I.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye?
Dr.
Okay. All right. I guess I will chair this meeting then. So we just did our organization. Just to review the agenda, we have the approved minutes from June 3rd and June 17th. Followed by a discussion about the Spear Library Building Committee. Request to consider adopting safe and welcoming policy approved as warrant. You guys can see. For Article 44 at our annual town meeting. Request for that the citizen petition for Article 45 Medicare for All and a statement of the town's unanimous vote in support thereof communicated to state representative and senator. Discuss open meeting law complaint from 6/19, appointments of Tom Seifert to the Lake Wyola Advisory Committee as a planning board rep and Bob Douglas as the conservation rep, followed by town administrator report, and then adjourn. Is there anything unexpected in the last 48 hours?
There is one thing we have to add, which is. Actually, I'll find it now.
Thank you. I think it was right. I think it-
Yes, it's an item from Elaine. Vallejo, which is a standard contractor evaluation that needs a signature. An evaluation of the construction firm, Construction Dynamics, because they've completed 50% of the building project, so we have a copy of that here. And we can discuss that.
So we'll do that right before the town administrator report. Does that sound good? Okay, so on to the minutes for June 3rd and June 17th. Do I hear a motion or public comment? I'm sorry, I'm skipping. Is there anyone who has public comment? Please raise your hand on screen. Use the raise hand feature in the room. Raise hand, Mary Lou. Go ahead.
So I'm very confident about the Shutesbury.
You have to speak up so they can hear you on the camera. Speak loudly.
Yes, I'll try. I just have a basic question, and I'm very curious to learn about the current status of the town getting sued. I don't know where, to go. I was given one site to go to look, but because I don't understand legalese, I really don't know what's happening.
Okay,
It's of us being sued by Coles.
generally, we don't respond during open public comment.
Yes, Melissa,
Oh, hold on.
sorry. You don't respond through email either. So then the question comes, how does a resident find out anything?
With legislation or with legal, this one or other, there is the executive sessions that we can't, there's information we can't share because of those sessions. There's things we can't share because they're in executive session. So there isn't a place we'll provide information once we are able to, but these are in executive session at the moment, so we are unable to provide that information because they're ongoing. Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else with public comment? Okay, hang on one second, I just want to make sure everybody comes in. Okay, Penny.
I'm Kim Leonard Road, and I see on your agenda that you're doing some follow-up on things that happened at town meeting. I just wanted to suggest as a follow-up to the passage on the bylaw about safe communities. I know it's going off to Boston for vetting and approval and so forth, but in the interim, I was wondering if it would be appropriate to let the school department and the police department know that that bylaw passed and the language that it contains. I think it's sort of important that the town be aware of its existence and its intent. Thank you.
Okay. All right. All right, anybody else have public comment? All right. So now we'll move on to the minutes for June 3rd. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes for June 3rd?
I move to approve the minutes for June 3rd, 2025.
I wasn't here, so I have to abstain. I don't, I assume
You
that
can second the motion.
I can second the motion.
Okay. Were there any edits or clarifications that anyone saw in those? I did not.
I was fine with that.
Okay, all right. All those in favor of approving the minutes from
Carol, aye.
Okay,
Stop abstain.
McPherson, O'Neill, aye. And do I hear a motion for June 17th minutes?
So moved.
And I'll second.
Okay. Again, any edits or clarifications that we saw in any of those? No? Okay. All those in favor of approving the minutes from June 17th, 2025?
And I'm going to abstain since I was. not
Okay.
here.
Dr.
McPherson, O'Neill, aye. And I just want to give a thank you to Brennan for keeping us up to date. That concludes all the minutes from last fiscal year.
That's good.
And are they all posted now?
They will be
updated.
soon. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
great.
that's great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Brennan, for keeping us up to date.
Okay. And now the discussion on the MN Spear Library Building Committee.
Yes, you need to form one.
Okay.
So that we can look at long-term potential uses for the site. So I would recommend, you probably wanna have someone from FinCom. I'm sure there are others, I'm just kind of blanking right now. Maybe like a community at-large member, building committee, capital planning committee. Whatever happens with that site, there's gonna need to be some serious infrastructure upgrades. Not the least of which could potentially be running water. Kind of a biggie. So yeah, you just need someone who can sit down and really look at, what does the town need? And what would be some good uses of that building?
Okay, and do we have, probably should have a charge with that as
So
well?
I could draft something for the next meeting. One thing that would be useful, since Frank McGinn is here and he's chair of the town building committee, it would be good to know, Frank, how much. I know that the committee has done an evaluation of all the town buildings, so do you have pretty good data on?
We all leaks and stuff. We also, the previous town buildings committee looked at leaking the bathroom. We have to update the water usage here. It should be lower than frankly, I don't know much water usage here to see if we can tap into the septic system. And we have to put a tank over there for that. We also have to tap into the common well. PFAS for the water. Those are the two things we looked at. The Bob Rose was Jack.
Okay.
And then we'd have to re-update all that and look at water usage here. I don't know if there's a meter on the pump. We should start looking at that, recording that. Because then we can go off of usage for the health department to authorize the septic here, and add more bathroom across the street.
Okay, so I think the questions, the direction I would go in with the building is exploring what the interest is in different uses. And then based on those uses, what code issues would be. So for example, if it was simply gonna be used as for meeting space, it probably would be one.
Exactly.
But if it was gonna be used for offices,
Could be a small
then, yeah, and then taking it to the next level would be, what would be the cost?
And yes, exactly, and then the front porch needs rebuilding, it's not a feasible egress right now. We're doing
Right.
a structural egress, but it needs to be.
Right.
The roof's been fixed.
Yeah, so I think I said to Haley, one of the reasons for moving fairly quickly on that building is in order to keep it insured, we have to keep that building, we have to kind of keep it open, quote unquote, so it's gotta be heated, although we don't have any, there's no water in there, right? So
Minimal heat then, yeah,
minimal amount of heat, but there's gotta be, somebody's gotta be checking on that building,
Using
to
it,
make sure
okay.
there's no issues over there and some minimal heat. So we wanna, so
Yeah.
what I'll do is I'll draft a charge and then, if we can do that, talk about that at our next meeting, which we're gonna talk about the scheduling, because we have a possible change for the date of the next meeting.
Yeah, I usually do my thing out and I didn't do it.
I know, but I talked to Haley today and I know the 15th didn't work for her and it actually doesn't work for me either.
Okay.
So I was gonna see if we could do it later in the week and it might make some sense with the personnel committee too.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, if we approve the charge, the representation, then we could go ahead and get it launched and maybe get a committee appointed by in July or our first meeting in August.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Moving on, that's great. So the next one is to request to consider adopting the safe and welcoming policy approved at the town warrant 44 at annual town meeting. And this one has your name noted next to it, Michael.
It does, I'm sure. So since you were all there, you remember at the very, very end of the meeting, we had a vote to approve this. And it was a little confusing going into it because I wrote it as a policy and then Donna confirmed that town meetings as the legislative body can approve policy, but that the select board can. And then I think, Melissa, you asked the question that if town meeting approved it, could select board make changes? And if I remember correctly, Donna said you just have to approve it as a policy if you so choose, following the guidance of town meeting, but not make changes to it. So I think if everything went well in my mind today, you guys would just approve this as a policy. But if you have questions about my thinking or whatever, I'm happy to answer them. And I apologize for being in my car. I was in Greenfield, so.
Well, don't have the windows rolled up. So did we have any questions or whatever? Mine was just a minor thing there to, and you had said, remind me, Donna said we couldn't change it because it was voted on at town meeting, or we could because it was a select board policy. Say that again.
I remember her saying that you couldn't change it. I'm sure typos or that kind of stuff is inconsequential, but I think, I mean, that's what I remember. I think you could run it by her again. You could have Haley check, but my sense was that if town meeting approved it as, intending it for the select board to approve as the policy, that the select board would then adopt it as a policy, just as is.
Yeah, I'd want to check with Donna on that, just to make sure.
About the language.
Yeah, it's minor. I can give it to you.
Yeah. Melissa, what do you want to change? Just out of curiosity.
Well, under the section, and I don't remember which one, where it goes into race, gender, and all those things, I would like to add political affiliation to that list of.
Sounds good. Yeah. Given the climate, that sounds like a very reasonable thing.
I didn't think it was
And just-
unreasonable.
Yeah, and I think just the one that I printed out, I don't know what you guys are looking at, but the one that was in town meeting, just as a reminder, the second to last paragraph that started in the event, basically the policy got violated, that whole paragraph got scrapped by town meeting before it got approved. It was amended with that deletion. So I'm not sure which one you're looking at, but just as an FYI.
I'm just looking at the one that was, I pulled it up on the web, on the annual town meeting website, so.
Okay, yeah, so it's the second to last paragraph that starts, in the event that an individual, employee, volunteer, et cetera. That whole paragraph got deleted as part of an amendment.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It does say in the fifth paragraph that it's other identities as defined by the individual. That. or do you
I
want
like
more
it
specific?
So
specifically
we
to
could
say,
put it,
yeah.
yeah, I think
like
we
it
had talked
specific.
about putting it in there
We
specifically,
have, yeah.
political
Yeah.
affiliation,
Yeah.
yeah. So could we just amend it, if we're adopting this as a policy, we could just insert that language now, right, and adopt it?
Yeah,
For expediency, I think that's a great thing to do.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I'm good with that, so, I'll make a motion that we adopt the town policy to preserve and protect a safe and welcoming community, with the addition of, political affiliation, to the paragraph that starts with, it is the policy of the town of Shutesbury to actively adopt and implement policies to process procedural safeguards and other relevant guidelines.
do I hear? a
Second.
second? Okay, any further questions or such? Well, we were using the one at town meeting had it deleted, so,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, so we have it.
All those in favor,
Farrell, I.
Tucker,
make peace O'Neill, aye. Thank you, Michael, for entertaining that change.
Oh, sure. Thank you all for approving it. It's massively appreciated.
All right, let me go back to our agenda. Moving on to the request that the citizen petition, article number 45, Medicare for All, and statement of the town's unanimous vote in support thereof communicated to State Representative Saunders and State Senator Comerford. Do we have a letter drafted by chance, Haley? And does the select board feel comfortable signing the letter?
Don't have it drafted yet, but I can definitely do that.
I'm sorry, we should have. I'll put you on the spot with that.
This is a copy of the vote
Okay.
certified by the
Yep.
town clerk.
That should go with it.
But yeah, I can definitely, I did one for the,
Voting.
yes,
Yes.
recently,
Yeah.
so I can just use that template
Okay.
and have that ready for
Yeah.
tomorrow.
All right, do you want all
So-
3 signatures on it? Yeah,
I think that's a
okay.
good idea.
All right, so I'll make a motion that, we have the town administrator draft a letter to Representative Saunders and Senator Comerford, affirming the passage of a Medicare for All, vote, unanimous vote, at, our annual town meeting.
Okay,
Consider it done.
we'll hear a second.
Okay. Sorry.
And we will, come in and sign that tomorrow.
Just let us know when it's ready. Okay, all those in favor,
Farrell, I.
Tucker,
make peace O'Neill, aye. Okay, you're welcome. So moving on to discuss open meeting law complaint from 6/19.
Many of you need a copy.
I can summarize it real quick and you can, if does that
Yeah.
work? That works?
I have a copy. Want to pick up that?
So we received an open meeting law complaint about our meeting, of the select board on June 17th, 2025. From Amanda Alex, and the, reason for, the alleged violation was that during our meeting on our agenda, we had to review for vote the 2026 FY 2026 annual appointment list, and we did not put the names there on the agenda, each of the names on the agenda. We were working off of a list that had many names. And so that was the violation that was asserted. In looking at that, we had found that the town administrator or the administrative assistant had posted the list attached to that meeting agenda. So the list was provided to the public. So that.
But it wasn't embedded.
Each name was not listed on the actual agenda itself. The document was there for viewing, but that was which is something we hadn't done prior, so,
Mhm.
so anyway, that was what had occurred. Okay. So, with that, I think you drafted a letter.
I did draft a letter. I want to just reformat it, so if I can have you sign it tomorrow, but it essentially says what
This
Melissa
is
just
what we
said.
did.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's some, a screenshot of the post with the list attached, so I can send that to the Attorney General's office.
All right, so that letter will then again be signed by all 3 select board members.
I see a hand. Hold on one moment, Michael. Yes, I
Yeah.
listen. Do either of you mind if I call on Michael? He has his hand up. Okay, go ahead, Mike.
I just had a quick thought listening to that maybe going forward on the agendas, if there's a separate document, you could just note it in the agenda so that people know to look elsewhere, and then it eliminates all the confusion and it's duly referenced, et cetera, et cetera. So just a thought.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Yeah. Okay, so do I hear a motion to, once reformatted, to sign the letter that the town administrator drafted in response to the open meeting law complaint.
So moved.
Okay, all
Second,
right, all those in favor,
Farrell, I.
Stocker, I.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye. Okay, thank you, Haley.
Mhm.
Now we are moving on to the appointments of Tom Seifert for the Lake Oil Advisory Committee and the appointment of Bob Douglas for the Conservation Representative. I see Bob, okay. Okay, so we have two appointments, one, Tom Seifert for the Planning Board rep and Bob Douglas for the Conservation Commission representative. We had taken a pause with Tom's to just do a little bit of background research, because there hadn't been enough planning board appointment, to LWAC for, at least my time here. I don't know about you, I'm not sure about you two. So we had taken that pause. And that brought Doug to us for the Conservation Commission one. Is there a discussion we'd like to have? Do we want to ask some questions to the two appointees in any way? What would we like?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't at the last meeting, you know, we have gotten, a number of, responses to, I don't know, responses, but we've heard from a number of people concerning, Tom's appointment and, you know, I think there was some concern, which, I don't know if you want to come up to the table, if you're more comfortable, I don't want having my back to you. And.
Thank
you. You're welcome. And I think, you know, it's very awkward to have this sort of conflict on committees. Obviously, you know, people can disagree. But I think that, you know, what ideally in all situations on all committees, that we disagree in such a way that it's done respectfully and in such a way that everybody feels heard and that there's, you know, common courtesy and so forth. And, you know, I think that some people haven't felt that. And I think you've seen some of the, you know, some of the correspondence that the select board has received. That being said, you were nominated by the planning board. Your name was put forth by the planning board. What I think, you know, we just voted on a safe and welcoming community and talked about, you know, respect and, you know, honoring differences of opinion. And I think, you know, we all have to take that to heart. I would like to see everybody be able to work together. I think I spoke to you individually and I spoke to some of the other folks involved here individually to say, look, we're all adults. Can we have a conversation about what the differences are? You know, what the points of contention have been, and then move forward, because I know you have an interest in serving the community, as do other people on the committee. But there have been real points of tension. And I think it's up to you, it's up to the other individuals to, you know, to work it out. That you all have the interest in serving. But there have been instances where I think stuff has happened. And so, you know, we need to smooth over the relationships and have some honest discussion. I think that the planning board and the conservation commission have the right to put forth their candidates. By the same token, you know, one of the things Haley in coming in, you know, has made a number of different recommendations about how we do things, which has been incredibly useful. And, you know, she has made some suggestions about how we do, learning from her experience in the town of Amherst, you know, how we do appointments to committees. And I think we're going to move forward with, you know, a different kind of process. And also has developed a code of conduct, which I think we're going to ask all committees and boards to adopt. And it ranges from courtesy and respect, responsiveness and information sharing, no fair and equal treatment, confidentiality, and so fair, you know, no personal benefit. And that's something that I think the select board is going to review and adopt, and then we will be issuing that to, you know, to all committees and boards in town. But I don't mean to just focus on you, because I think there have been other instances, you know, where there has been tension. In this case, you know, you happen to be the one, and yeah, we've received a lot of pressure, and I think you genuinely understand kind of where we're coming from. We want you to be able to serve. I think you have a willingness to serve and the energy, but you have to be aware that these concerns are out there, and this is a one-year appointment. Eric serves on LWAC. You know, we have to feel that things are working okay in order for us to do a reappointment. So I'm gonna propose that you are appointed to LWAC, and that, you know, we go forward in the spirit of really trying to work cooperatively with the group. I don't know if you have anything you wanna add.
No, I'm imagining in your shoes, all of you on the select board, an administrator. I've witnessed it. I haven't been in your shoes, but I imagine that you face pressures that are pretty enormous as well. I have been through a lot of burning hoops in my life that were hard. And I really look forward to showing people how decently I can contribute and want to. And I'm a really good baker, and will do my best to bring more sweet food with me. Please.
I think you made a
I
motion
did.
for Tom
I did.
Seifert for 1 year
Yep.
as the planning board representative
Representative,
to
yep.
the Lake Loyola Advisory Committee. Do I hear?
Yeah, I'll second it, but I do say we're sort of in a position where we've got a number of people in the committee said they're gonna leave the committee. So I'm a little bit worried about crashing the committee, basically. I mean, certainly the planning board has a right to appoint who they want to appoint. Similarly, LWAC has a right at some level to say, we don't want somebody on the committee. So I'm torn, to be honest.
That's fair. Fair. I had also torn. This isn't, after following up what Rita said, this is not a adult reference, but playing nice in the sandbox is something that I always think of when we put committees together. And that's important because of work that needs to be done, and so things need to be handled. So maybe, Tom, maybe I'll ask you a question.
Please.
How might you handle, what Eric has just said, where some committee members, feel they may not want to stay on a committee with a presence of another committee member? How might you handle a situation like that, in your first meeting or in 6 months from now?
I have no record of any of these people's words or reasons, and that's very hard to say without knowing what each person had to say. I don't want to speculate about what anybody said. This is the first I've learned anything of the nature of what Eric just said. So I respectfully feel as though I'm not in a position to respond.
Okay, that's fair. I mean,
I
it's
think
fair.
it was my sense is
Right.
it was a general, if I could generalize what was said to me, it would be more like that people were upset with the voting committee, where you filed, for an open meeting law violation on a committee you were on. And people going, I mean, I don't know, if this, they're going, that's wrong. That's how what people felt. I think that's where it's at.
That's a protected act,
What's it protect that?
fighting an open meeting law.
Right, well, that may be, but it's protected act to probably say, I don't want this person on the committee too.
Oh, sure. Oh, yes, that would be, I agree. If should what you are saying be the case, I understand. I thought you meant more of a retaliatory reaction to a protected act. But I mean, a reaction of withdrawing oneself, that I understand differently. But again, I have not heard or seen or received anything.
Right,
Everything I know, I've only become aware of through my own husband's public records requests.
Right.
So I'm not in a position to respond to something that hasn't been told to me. If you understand what I mean.
yeah,
So I really would appreciate responding to something sent to me or addressed to me, or to
Right.
know my address, or if I'm the addressee,
right.
please.
We do live on the lake, we do have concerns with the lake.
Oh, I understand that.
Yeah.
We are part of that community.
I understand completely.
So maybe a better question might have been like, what's your process for handling? Like if there is a disagreement between, how do you
I
handle
see
those
you,
things?
Michael. Hold on.
I would say listening first and foremost,
Mm.
because I do feel as though I'm a really good listener. And I'm very comfortable gathering points, facts, and, trying to organize the discussion in a way that's helpful for people to see sides or conflicts or nuances. It's so case by case, generally in my experience.
I do see, do you mind if we call on Michael?
No.
He is on the planning board. Michael?
Yeah, I was actually not gonna respond wearing my planning board hat, but most as a ex-select board chair. So, I mean, thinking about what Eric said, and Melissa, I think you and I were serving the time, but when we were doing contract negotiations for the fire chief, and the entire volunteer fire department decided they were gonna leave because they didn't like the way things were going, blackmail in that regard is not really a productive process. And so everyone has a right to make their decision. But I think, the select board has to, I'm totally supportive of what Haley's, considering about it, consistency of process. I think that makes a lot of sense. It makes it easier for everyone to know what to expect. Saying if someone comes on, everyone's going to leave. At this, given what I lived through chairing that meeting where the volunteer fire department said we're leaving, it feels not good to me. That's not the right approach. Now it's not playing the sandbox correctly. The other thing I just say is it could be that in this next year, the select board wants to look at the charge for the LWAC, just like it looked at building committee and it looked at energy committee. It seems like it's been a while. Where things are now in terms of Lake Wyola, it might be a worthwhile exercise, both to figure out what the charge is, actually what they're focused on, and what the membership is. You know, my sense is right now that it's only residents, for example, around the lake who are the at-large members, but not anybody else. And you can look at planning board, Concom, all that stuff, but that might be a productive process if you have the time and interest.
It's a good suggestion.
That is a good suggestion. There was a couple others I had thought of. Okay, so, there was a motion on the table,
I mean, I'll second that motion, but it also seems to me, I think Michael's point's very good about blackmail aspect of things. I agree with that. On the other hand, as I say, I'm just torn because I just have a sense that this, you know, we're all about keeping the family together here, just, you know, so you sort of try not to do things that'll stir up the pot, I guess, put it that way. Have people fighting with each other. And I think there's whatever, I hope that won't happen,
right, right.
but I'm counting on Tom and people on the committee to make sure it doesn't happen.
Yes, Tom.
I do have a strong record of attendance as a member of the public at the LAC meetings. And I have raised my hand and participated in some discussions, so I do hope that might also help you, Eric, specifically for kind of the things you've been saying. Remember, I mean, I think you've been there often. And it's not
Yeah,
like that. There has been productive conversation with me there and about items on the agenda and whatnot. So I just hope that that shows the history is actually there of a productive relationship. And I think that's it. Yeah, right.
I can call a vote. All those in favor of Tom Seifert to LWAC for 1 year.
Carol, aye.
Start, right.
Make people. Okay, and let's move on to Bob Douglas is the Conservation Commission
Thank you.
Representative to the LWAC committee. And Bob, you, there was a vote at the Conservation Commission for that, for your service. So we need to discuss that and have a motion for Bob as well.
I'll make a motion to appoint Bob Douglas as the Conservation Commission representative to Lake Wyola
Advisory.
Committee. I was gonna say Association Committee, Advisory Committee.
Second.
Any discussion? Bob, did you have any questions or want to let us know your interest with that via the Concom?
Sure, yeah, I was excited that I was unanimously approved by the Concom. I'm a member of the COLAP, which is the Lake Association for the state of Massachusetts. I've overseen 3 different ponds as part of my work as a wetland scientist. So I look forward to working on a lake that I've known since I went to Camp Anderson in my single digits. So I'm excited to help.
Okay. Any questions for Bob? No. All those in favor of Bob to the committee, Conservation Commission rep, the LWAC,
Carol, aye.
Start, right.
make peace on your line. Okay, thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Now we had the
The
pop-up
contract,
agenda item.
yeah,
Thank you.
for Elaine, did you want to come? Sorry.
Come forward and let us know.
Come speak, please.
Who did that?
Yeah, this is a 50%. Yeah, it's 50% completion
record, we really don't have to submit it, and we may not submit it. But I'd like to get your signature on it, and we're gonna have a further discussion about whether to submit it, because it's really difficult to go through these evaluation questions, and everything is average. And in order to go through it and give somebody an average, and then their total score is below average, doesn't make a lot of sense, especially when they're 50% through with your building, and you hope that they'll continue with your building.
Right.
There is nothing gravely wrong with what's going on at all. The only issue we have, unfortunately, is time, and it's not on our side. We had a lot of issue with weather over the winter. It was too cold for them to work outside. They could not work on it. It was too wet. It's been too wet in the spring. Things have been held up, but they are working at a speed that I'm impressed with. I mean, the drywall is all up already, and so they're really going as fast as they can, but when you have a 50% evaluation, I don't wanna really let them feel like they're underperforming. So
Yeah, we want to keep the pressure on.
we want to keep the pressure on, and right now, we are definitely, trust me, we're keeping the pressure on, and tomorrow we're going to get a updated schedule from them, revised schedules to where they're going. It's difficult it's kind of, yeah, it's what you do when you're building. You want to keep the pressure on, but you don't want to make them feel like they're, we think that they're underperforming, because they're not at all. And they're, with the pressure on them, they're also putting the pressure on their subcontractors. And so the game, I mean, it is.
Yep.
I
read those emails.
It's really difficult
Yeah.
to
Yeah, it
have this happen, and to, have things that are not going to plan. And when you all of a sudden see something that was in the architect design, and you go, oh, wait a minute, in reality, how do you do that? And, so things.
Yeah, things have to stop and have the conversation.
Exactly. And so we've been having weekly meetings. We've really been,
Good.
working on this. So it's not that they don't know, but I just.
Lynn, I just had one, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just had one, question about the, additional costs due to the delay. So the additional costs for the OPM, for the, project.
It would be an additional cost for the OPM and the architect. But right now, with the architect, we're talking, if we go through to, as they have planned, their September 8th is the sign off date for us. That would be, the architect suggested somewhere, it was $16,000, but it's going to be less than that, because they have actually pulled somebody off of the architectural team. So we only have one instead of two now, so it's gonna be less than that. And the OPM has been extremely forthcoming with us and saying that they're probably not going to have additional costs, but that's what they're saying now. So and the construction costs, they're tied. That's,
Right.
they're getting.
Yeah,
paid, so-
as there shouldn't be any additional costs.
Right, yeah, because otherwise,
Yeah.
right, no.
There
But,
were,
I mean,
yeah,
oh.
some of the delays were.
Some, and some of the delays, I mean, National Grid has still not come with our permanent power, and so without that.
We may not have power after that comes through. Just saying,
Yeah.
I looked at the
look,
radar.
I mean, they came and looked at where the pole should be, and they came and looked at different things, but they're not
That's a start.
giving us a time.
Remember the
Culvert.
culvert?
Yes.
How many months did it take to move a telephone pole?
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean, it's been really difficult, and you know, calling them every
And
single
this is a
week.
new customer, you think they'd be a
Every
little more,
single
yeah,
week.
yeah.
And so, you know, they have the culvert, they have it, the trenching done, they've got the lines as far as they can go in each direction, but until you get power in that building, I mean, you can only do so much with a generator. You know, you can't.
They're not able to string the temporary power down to the building at all, are they? No,
Mm-mm.
okay, it's too far.
No,
Okay.
no. So, you know, there, it's, National Grid has really, tied our hands because, you know, you can't do any, indoor testing of the HVAC system, of any of
Right,
the systems.
right,
You
you
can't
need the
test them
regular power.
with a generator. I mean, that, we have just a little generator. We're not. Is that they're working as hard as they can.
Right,
And they're really pulling in subs. I mean, I was there yesterday and you go into that building and, I mean, there are more people in that building than you can't walk around all the equipment. It's so packed and they're really doing a great job of coordinating with each other, but it's a small building.
right.
So, yes, I was bringing this forward to get it signed, but I'm hesitant
I'm
to,
gonna hold on. to
I'm
it
gonna
for
hold
now.
on to
I
it.
think that's a darn good
I
idea.
think that's,
If, and so if you
Huh?
would sign it and know
Yeah.
that I'm holding on to it,
Right,
Okay. So it's just one signature. I think they're-
Yes. yes.
So I'm gonna, make a motion that to, authorize, Melissa to execute
Okay.
this. And leave it up to the library building committee to make the decision about whether or not it gets transmitted to DCAM.
Thank you.
Okay. Second,
Second, sorry.
all those in favor,
Carol, I.
Stalker, eye.
make peace in your life, I'll sign right now.
Thank you.
Chase me down.
Who does it go to?
It just goes to them.
It
Oh.
goes to them, but it goes to DCAM, gets it.
DCAM gets the final, doesn't get.
DCAM is.
Doesn't get the
DCAM?
Division of Capital Asset Management.
Yeah,
Okay.
some projects that
It's
receive
the,
state money.
they're the
have-
ones that,
Right.
you know, oversee like all of
Yeah.
the license, you know.
Mhm. Okay, that's right, yeah, okay, I figured something like that.
You get DCAM certified and then you do all the certifications about whether or not you can get contracts. like
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a big
public
deal.
contracts. It is a big deal,
It's a very big deal. Yeah.
but
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. For those on.
thanks,
on the-
Elaine.
Oh, thank you, Elaine.
Thanks, Elaine.
For those on camera, we did lose our lights here. Speaking about electricity for the new library, well placed there.
I know. Good.
Good timing,
The
Elaine.
generator works.
And the generator works. Look at that. We're all set. We've tested everything. Okay. I do now have to,
The internet's
So do
working.
we know Howard's out?
no, it's, well, on our end of town, Rita, it's back because I got
It
notification.
is, okay.
Likely not on my side.
And down
West.
West North, do you know if you have it?
I do not know.
You get a, are you on the national grid?
I think I am, yeah.
Okay, anything else?
Now into the town administrator report.
Showtime.
No, no.
Right.
So the first thing I wanted to talk about, and I invited Dave to be part of this, is the berm at the highway department. And I'm sure there'll be lots of opinions, but you know, Dave and I really just want to talk about it from a safety perspective. He's gonna have a lot more information, and he just put his camera on, so I guess that means he's ready to talk. So I warmed him up for you, Dave.
All right,
Let us have it.
can you
Of
hear
the
me?
berm.
Okay. I haven't lost my power, I just don't have my lights on.
Oh, okay.
The only thing that I had was the berm in front of the highway department. It's proven to be a safety hazard for people entering and exiting the highway department. And I would like to propose we do something different out in the front of the highway department. I know I met with those that were involved with all the planting and maybe even some of the construction of that berm that's out front. So I know this is a tough thing to think about because of all the hard work that was put into it. But we at the highway department feel, and others in town feel that it's very unsafe exiting the highway department. Entering is not a problem, exiting is the issue. You cannot see cars. And the cars are not going slow. All of the growth on the berm has grown tall and wide. And I measured from the bottom of the berm to the top of one of the trees on the, if you're looking at the highway department, it's on the right hand side, and it's 12 feet tall. And it's quite wide. So you can't see exiting that part of the highway department. And the other side, we moved some bushes, so it does help a little bit. There's a telephone pole there, and there's also some bigger bushes further down from the telephone pole, so you can only see up to the telephone pole. We have equipment that's long in the front. There's a box there for textiles, and the box truck came in, almost hit one of our dump trucks on entering, because he could not see past the berm that there was a dump truck coming out of the highway department. So it was a very close call, head-on collision. So I would like to ask if there's some way that we can remove the berm and somehow create a fence along the back side of where that berm is. And it's right in front of where the fuel tank fence is. So that it's actually quite a bit off the road. If we could somehow replant some of the plants on a flat surface instead of on a berm, And get rid of the big bushes or trees that have overgrown. And they're difficult to trim now. You need a bucket truck to trim them. That's how high they are. So it's a safety issue. And that's the reason why I'd like to have it brought up, but open to whatever. We're willing to help move plants wherever you want to put them. You know, we're easygoing in that area. We're willing to help. I have a gentleman that works for the cemetery, Carl Landry. He has experience in landscaping. I can ask him to help if that's something that everybody's willing to help or agree to. So it's a safety issue and it needs to be addressed. It's dangerous. You can't drive the grader out. You have to back it out of the highway department, and you still have to have the rear end of the grader sticking out into the road before you can even see if a car's coming. So I just feel it's a safety issue and it needs to be addressed. So. Everybody froze. I don't know how I ended up host. Can any of you guys hear me, Brendan? Oop. Oh, looks like we lost power. Gonna try to get back in.
I can still hear you, Dave.
Okay. I guess what best thing to do is they lost their power at the town hall again. So I'm gonna zoom out and then try to zoom back in. That's how I got back in again last time.
All right.
The garden tours raise more money, and I think the town. maybe
Thank you
pays
guys for
some of
hanging
the
on.
soil. Some of the topsoil to put on top of, because it was really crappy. It was just old gravel kind of at the base. So. I don't.
Yeah, he might be coming back. Oh, no, he's coming back. Just popped into the waiting room.
I don't think we can decide this tonight. I think this is a very emotional issue for a number of us.
Yes, I can see.
And, I think what we should do is pull together the folks who are instrumental in sort of dealing with the firm. And, kind of come, look at a plan, talk to Dave. yeah, this, we understand, you know, I understand the safety issues. I think we need to look at sort of what are there any other alternatives?
Yeah, there must be other alternatives that'll still make
Happy
it look better.
medium.
Fans.
I'm sorry?
Can I ask a question, please?
Dave, you can hear us,
See
right?
live? Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
I had to zoom back in.
When
Here.
you met, this is Gail Fleischager, when you met with the people from the garden board, did you suggest pruning, cutting back? Any of those things, were they amenable to that?
They gave me permission to take 3 bushes out, which we did. It did improve some of the sight line, but not past the telephone pole. I gave Haley a picture of what I had in mind, what to do with it, which would increase the visibility extremely. And we can still use some of the flowers that are on the boom, the lower sized flowers that are on the berm. And if you'd like trees moved somewhere, we can do that. We have the capability of doing that. We know some people that can help us. And I've moved trees before. So, I mean, I'm happy to help. And if you want to try to auction off some of the trees or something, that's a possibility. Some of the trees that, you know, you don't want transplanted or whatever. It just, if you have a fence in front of the highway department, right behind where the fuel tanks are, you're quite a ways away from the road and you can create a flower bed in front of that fence. And I gave Haley some pictures, at least one picture of what I found online, what it could look like. It's actually very beautiful. And I gave her a sketch that I put together. I'm not an architect, but I put a aerial view sketch of what it would look like from like an aerial view. There would be, you know, 2 to 3 feet of room right there in front of the fence where we can plant some beautiful flowers and even something that will climb the fence, whatever would be fine. And it's still farther enough away from the road so you can still see out. It's just, I'm sure when Tim first put the berms in there, there were some low plants. It looked really nice, but everything has so far overgrown and has not been trimmed. And now to trim them, you need a bucket truck. That's how tall they've gotten. So that's the reason why. It's not that we're trying to make changes to what everybody loves, but I think we could make it look nice and still have it safe.
So, Dave, what I was suggesting was that, we have a meeting with, you and Haley and some of the garden folks. I'll represent the select board. Somewhat of the garden people. And just talk about what's there. So, is the idea behind the fence to just to close off, or you're gonna close off the access to the highway department altogether, or what's the deal with the fence? Is the fence gonna be a closing fence?
It will. Both entrances and exits will be closed off when the highway department's closed. There used to be a gate on there that used to close the highway department at the end of the day. And so then the reason for this is there's equipment in the yard, there's pipes, there's plows. We have people coming in, walking their dogs through. We have hunters coming through out into the back of the highway department, going into the woods to hunt. And it can be a liability to the highway department to allow people just to go by this equipment. We have blocks out there, we have guardrails, we have so much stuff out there that someone could trip and fall and actually hurt themselves on. It's a construction area. So when you don't close it off, it becomes a liability. And
Are you gonna fence all the way around then? Because you can get at it from the sides. If you just close the front, that's not sufficient. You can come in through the sides.
You can put fence down the side if you want. It's gonna cost a lot of money to do that. And there's a lot of plants and debris, and there's actually like almost like a wet area down in between the property from the neighbor. So for somebody to crawl through that, I mean, that's pretty much difficult to get through. So yeah, we could put corners on it, so that, people can't walk past those areas.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, anything could be done. But if we're
Yeah.
if we're gonna keep people safe, I've had people walking around the property just getting exercise. And it's a concern to me that someone's gonna get hurt, someone's gonna fall or trip over something they didn't see, or, sometimes when we're putting material out back, the ground becomes uneven until we flatten it out, especially in the wintertime,
Yeah,
and the
Okay.
parking lot is in rough shape. It needs to
Yeah.
be replaced. It's years in the working. I've got something from what Tim had put together for paving the parking lot 3 years ago, and it never got done. So, I mean, it's just, I think it'd be a good thing to have the gates closed at night.
I would definitely agree with Dave that we should close the gates at night. I think also the things for me is that the fuel. What's to stop somebody from going through the yard with a canister and filling up their gas or taking sand? I've never seen a DPW that's so open before, so I definitely agree that like fencing around the parking lot in particular is good to cut off access when they're.
I think the wooden fence was a lot better than the chain link
Yeah.
fence that's there.
Yeah,
What about winter access? And on weekends, of snowstorms, you close that off to the town.
Yeah, that's a problem. That's.
Dave, did you hear that question?
I know, I did not.
As to the sand,
The winter.
in the winter, it can't be closed off, on the weekends and. Because people go and get sand from the,
The little sand sheds.
from the sand shed there.
Okay, I can
About that.
try to help with that a little bit. We've had some people come in and fill sanders with a shovel for commercial use. So we were talking about putting cameras up and putting signs up saying that there was cameras there. And I've asked people, are you using this to make money? And I've gotten different answers from different people. And if you close it off on the weekend, it doesn't mean they can't come in during the week and get the sand they need while the gates are open. They'll be there. We could even actually create something where they can get some sand if the gates are closed. I'm not open to ideas. If people feel that that's something that we need to do, then we can do that.
All right, I think, yeah, we'll probably beat this one too.
Okay, we can move on. We can move on.
So we'll
Good
set up a
conversation.
time, Haley, then.
we can have a meeting
Okay,
and I'll also look at some other garages and how they beautify.
Okay.
One thing I did want to shout as a shout out to Dave is he had an idea to maybe put the old grader on the corner of the property, like a lot of DPWs will walk by, they got like these big
Oh, the
snow
slope,
plows.
yeah.
Just something like that to kind of signify.
That's right, it really does say.
So next on my list was, thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
And hanging in there during electrical outage.
There will be a Four Towns meeting, so this is, put together with, I would say mostly Lynn Greasner as the driving force. But they will be having a meeting on July 14th, and I can get the time for you, I don't have that in my notes. But it would probably be good for, certainly I can go. But another select board representative, to talk about strategizing for how to handle the financial sustainability of the school long term.
Is that an evening meeting?
I believe so. If I can find it.
Yeah, just let me know what time, when,
I'll dig it up.
And there've been ongoing meetings right? And you've been going to those?
Yes,
Is that
I just
okay?
got the invite.
I don't think I can go on the 14th. Are you in town?
I think I can go.
Okay.
I am down, yeah. Yep, I'm down.
You said the 14th?
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be difficult for me. Just a Monday.
Yeah.
I'll get back to you on the time. I have it in an email. But.
Okay.
Um, also tomorrow I will have for you a letter to draft. We should recognize Ellen for her 50 years of service to the
Yeah.
town.
Mhm.
Big shout out. She didn't tell me about it. I found out through a little birdie. But it would be nice to show her how much we appreciate her. So I'll get that letter for you to draft.
Okay.
I also want to give a shout out. Grace has been talking with me about doing an open meeting law and public records training, for Shutesbury, but incorporated into like Leadville and Wendell. So I'm gonna work with her to get that on the books. We'd like to have KP Law do it. I think they'll do it no charge if there's other communities. So that's
Right.
kind of the thinking behind that, but then everyone can get an understanding of what's expected by law of them on their committees.
Great.
And so two more things. This one should be fairly straightforward. So I have a letter here that the select board will appoint Sergeant Devin Pelletier as officer in charge until further notice. Previously, he had been officer in charge until yesterday. So I still have it written as you, Melissa and Rita are co-chairs. I don't know if you want me to change that, but. Probably should.
Just do it.
Yeah, yeah, we could
Yeah,
just- we
and
could
just
just
do
sign
it for tomorrow.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, we
I'll
can
get
do
that. Yeah.
Unless you, yeah. Unless you can run up real quick before we leave. He may have to
Okay.
give that away, because right now,
Yes.
the
yes,
last letter was through the 30th.
Yeah, yeah,
So he would need it. today.
yeah.
Yep, so I can do that. I'll just change that there. And then the last thing I had on my list is, like Rita alluded to, was doing code of conduct. You all now have a copy, right? Policies, why do we need them? So that there's a paper trail and that there's common language that everyone knows and can articulate, and that we can fall back and say, well, you agreed to do this and now you're not doing it. So this just, I model it after Amherst, go figure. So would apply to paid positions, volunteer positions, appointed, elected. It emphasizes courtesy and respect. It talks about how we share information and what information is confidential. Makes it really explicit that you should not be on a committee for personal gain. Fair and equal treatment to everyone. And there's some specific guidelines for board and committee members, which would be, you're part of the respective board, you make decisions as a group, that sort of thing. It gives a metric for reporting violations and then an implementation process. So as policy, you could adopt this, or we could, you could make some changes to it. But I think it's a good idea to just, it's a new fiscal year, we like new beginnings. And to do this, and then as part of the item on the agenda for next meeting, coming up with a plan for, how do we want to do appointments so that if there's a unilateral procedure that everyone has to go through.
So would you want us to review this and then vote on this at the next?
We can do
meeting?
either. It's pretty brief if you want to look now. But, if you want to do it the next meeting, that's also fine. I just want it in your heads that this is something we could,
Sure.
commit to.
I do
Yes.
see two things I would
Mhm.
add, just volunteers to the first sentence.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then I think as part of the, appointment packet that people get from Grace, that they sign this.
yes.
They get
That's
a
what I was
copy
gonna
and they
say,
sign a copy
signature.
over here.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Those are just my two things.
Yeah, no, that's
Off the
good.
top.
I was gonna say the signature. Yeah.
Do we wanna take it and read it through and send edits for the next one? Do we wanna
accept it as a draft form for edits for the next time, so it's a little bit in play now for everybody, but.
So your plan would be to send this out to all the committees. I feel comfortable authorizing you to go ahead and just make those edits and then send it out. Yeah,
I'm okay with that.
yeah,
Done too.
just add the volunteers and the signature line.
Yep.
And I'll try to do it in a PDF so that they can just fill it out online.
Yeah.
Get it back fast.
That sounds good. So do I hear a motion to approve with Haley, with this amendment and any changes that Haley does to the code of conduct? Wait, that wasn't very good.
So this was
Sorry.
an unanticipated
It
item.
wasn't anticipated. Work differently when it's unanticipated. We don't usually have a lot of unanticipated items, Rita. Okay. We'll do this. Let me know if this sounds good. Well, do I hear a motion to approve the unanticipated item added to our agenda of the code of conduct with the 2 amendments as written,
Getting volunteers and a signature line.
getting volunteers and signature line, and permission for Haley to distribute to all town boards and committees.
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor?
Carol, I.
Stocker,
Make peace, Sonia, aye.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
great.
Great job. Was there anything else, or was that the last thing? That was the last thing? Okay.
So are we still on, auxiliary power now?
No, generator's not firing, I cannot hear it, yeah. Both sides of town, they're on 2 different electrical things. That's right.
So I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay,
Second.
okay, so moved in second, all those in favor?
Carol, I.
Stocker,
Make peace, Sonia, aye. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.